Going live. By the looks of it, I'm going live.
Yeah, it's all about you. I told you that. I'm just the host. Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Uncovering Greatness podcast. As always, I am your co-host Sully, and today I am joined by our lead trainer, author, business owner, Barry Mitchell.
Sully, what's up, chum?
All good in you?
Yeah, very good. Eh? Hey, I'm pretty amped today. Behind you.
Let's get it. Let's get it.
I'm ready. That's so
There you
cool.
go.
My third book. My third book is called Get Moving to Greatness.
In your second book, in how many years?
This year.
Second book. So it took you wrote your first book, Sales is a
In
Lifestyle.
2016.
It took you 10 years.
Republished it at the beginning of this year.
Yeah.
Then I wrote A Salesman's Journey.
It took you 10 years.
That didn't take me 10 years.
Let's go on a journey.
I wrote Salesman's Journey. and then I wrote Get Moving to Greatness. And a quote from a wonderful mentor of mine that says, and when I first met her, she said to me, Barry, life is often like rowing or paddling through peanut butter. And you feel like you are pulling that oar hard, but you're just not going anywhere. And that's what business is like. And that's this book. It's called Get Moving to Greatness. It says at times it's like rowing through peanut butter. If it wasn't for people, business would be easy. And it's an inspiring story to take you and your team and your business to greatness. So yeah, those of you that have a business and have a team, and you find yourself in a place where you know there's so much more, but you're just not really getting there.
Yeah.
Or you've got to a stage where you're doing really well, but you want to know what to do to get to the next level, then yeah.
Grab it. Grab a copy.
So that's it. So I'm excited about that.
Me too. I'm selfishly excited, but you'll have to find out why I'm selfishly excited when you read the book for the first time ever. I'm in the book. Made it, baby. But the parts about me in the book are not true. Let's just be clear. None of it. It's all fiction.
Anyway, so that is exciting.
It is.
But today is
It's an interesting one. I think, so I mean, yes, we usually have stats and we talk about all those types of things, but we're not going to be doing that today because I think from our perspective, there's something a little bit more important for us to talk about. And I'm sure pretty much everybody has seen it. And if you have not, we all saw the unfortunate assassination and that's what it was, of Charlie Kirk, the founder of Turning Point, co-founder of Turning Point USA. And sad. It's sad because somebody got assassinated. That's never a good thing. I don't care who you are. I don't care anything about your family. It's a sad situation when somebody is murdered for their views.
Yeah, I think, it's and I suppose it's not just about Charlie Kirk, but it was highlighted. There's a young man, I don't know what was he, 31. There's a young man who's focused on working with young people, expressing his beliefs and his opinions and how he looks at life and how he lives his life, and he lives his life based on his beliefs, and that's how he lives it, and created a platform where he creates dialogue amongst people, and the opportunity to create dialogue, to talk, to discuss stuff, and created a massive movement. A massive movement of people who came to his events and sat there and contributed, not always agreed.
No.
Not always agreed. And I personally, I really liked what Charlie Kirk did. I didn't always agree with his opinion and what he said. In principle, I did agree with a lot of what he said. But what I loved about him is he created a platform for people to debate.
Yeah.
And very rarely did you see him tell people they were wrong. He gave his opinion and he gave statistics and he asked questions, and if you watch so much of what he does is the ability to ask questions, to get in other people's worlds, to find out where they're at, and then give them a perspective or from where he's at based on facts, based on where he sits in the world and what he's researched and what he understands. And without making them wrong, many people made themselves wrong. They were like, oh, I didn't think of that, or and I think we're just losing that in the world today, man.
Yeah.
I said this a lot. Everyone's allowed an opinion, but as long as your opinion is the same as mine, then we'll get on. And that's sad.
And I mean, I think for me, it's a crazy thing. And I'm like, why don't you go find people that have that same opinion as you and stick to your bubble, for example, if that's the way that you want to operate? If you don't believe, if somebody's opinion is so against yours, why are you trying to force yourself into that space?
But isn't that the beauty of being a human being, Sully, is that we all have minds that we can think, and we all come from different backgrounds and different different experiences, and we have hugely different levels of conditioning and how we see the world and what the world means to us. And that shapes how you think. It doesn't mean that thinking is right, because we all, I don't know, too many people are trying to be right. And I suppose for me, why I wanted to talk about this was it goes back to the ability to effectively communicate. And I really see in the world again that this idea of right and wrong and people trying to prove that everybody else is wrong and I'm right becomes so divisive. And I first learned this concept from Buckminster Fuller, and I learned it through Robert Kiyosaki. And I've talked about it many times, and I teach it in a lot of our events. But it's the concept of two sides of a coin.
Yeah.
And if you have a coin, the concept of two sides of a coin, for most people there's two sides.
Yeah.
There's right and wrong. You go to school, it's right and wrong. If you get it wrong, you're stupid. If you get it right, you're smart. So there's these two sides to this coin. And what happens is if you are so intent on and focused on your side of the coin, have this huge intent to prove people wrong. Well, what happens is if a person on the other side of the coin is so intent on proving that you are wrong, you create division.
Massive.
And we're just creating massive division in the world because we can't sit down and understand each other's perspective. You and I won't always agree. But however, we'll sit down and try to find a common ground. But there's only one way you do that. You have to go to the edge of the coin. You have to go to the edge of the coin, and you have to take someone else to the edge of the coin, so both of you can stand on the edge. It doesn't mean you have to change your belief. It doesn't mean you have to change your opinion. Yeah. What it means is you can see all sides. And when you can see all sides and you bring other people to see all sides, there's an opportunity for both of you to learn.
There is.
Both of you to learn and understand why people think the way they think, where they come from. You don't necessarily have to agree. You can hold a very strong position and find unity with other people without agreement.
And it's an interesting one for me because I'm seeing this a lot online. I'm seeing it a lot everywhere where it's a thing of people are saying, so it's almost like a thing of black people should be happy that Charlie Kirk was murdered because of the things that Charlie Kirk said about black people around reparations and slavery and all of that. I never agreed with any of those things that he said. I'm not going to sit here and say that I did. But for me, I kind of go, as a black person in this world, I kind of go, well, those things aside, what about the other things that he spoke about? What about those the other issues that he brought up in the world and in America?
But if you take those type of things, Sully, if you put 10 people around the table, 10 people will see things like reparations in a different light.
For sure.
There will be slight differences of opinions, there'll be large differences of opinions. And then the fight is who's right and who's wrong, rather than how do we actually coexist, move forward, and create something that works for the majority of the people.
Yeah.
And I think sadly in the world, in a business, in my business, it's very simple. We do things the way we do things. We have a culture the way it's our culture. So when you come in, if you want to fit in here, you're going to have to agree with most of the stuff that gets done. And you're going to have to submit to the way we operate. If you are going to spend your life in our organization trying to fight back and make us wrong, you're never going to fit in. And so why would you even want to be here? Why would you even want to spend that time trying to prove to us that we're wrong about how we run our business or how we conduct ourselves, versus actually move on and go hang out with other people?
Yeah.
And I think that's that division, rather than actually someone comes in and goes, okay, I want to understand, first of all, why you do what you do before I tell you that you're wrong. And then maybe if they spend some time understanding why we do what we do, they go, oh, wow, I never thought of it like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I never saw that perspective. Oh, I can understand that. I may not want to do it because it's not who I am, but I understand why you do it.
Yeah.
Or, shit, I never thought about that. Wow, let me change my perspective on life and I shift. Those of you guys that are watching this live, hit us up with some comments, questions if you have. We'll do whatever we can to answer them. If this little discussion is making sense to you, this whole idea that the world is becoming more and more divisive because way too many times people are trying to prove they're right rather than actually find unity by connecting with each other, finding out, if I really want to find out about you, Sully, I go into your world, I go on the edge and I say, tell me about your background, tell me about where you come from, tell me about why. I may not agree. I mean, you and I have been working together for nearly 12 years.
Yeah.
We've had many disagreements.
Yeah, we don't agree on everything.
I've had a number of times where I told you your mindset sucks.
Yes.
But I've done whatever I can to try to get into your world to say, dude, come and see a different perspective. And has your perspective changed over 10 years?
Oh, yeah.
Dramatically.
Definitely. I think it's for me, I view the world differently. I view things differently. We've spoken about it before, even on this podcast, where I told you, there was a time in my life where I was very, very, very pro-black. And I couldn't get out of that mindset. But the reason why I was in that mindset, because that was what was being fed to me. But also at the same time, I was looking for those things.
Yeah.
Right? And I could not stand on the edge because it was also a thing of, I didn't want to stand on the edge. I didn't want to.
Yeah, well, you had your position, so you were going to justify your position.
100%.
And that's where a lot of people are. But that's my position. I'm going to justify it without actually going, okay, that is my position. But I'm also going to look and understand why people have a different position to me.
Yeah.
Why do we? That for me is the beauty of being a human being, is we can think.
We can.
But I don't know, most people in this world today, I don't think are thinking. They're just trying to find information to support their thoughts.
Yeah,
prove everybody else wrong.
If we kind of look at it as well in terms of, I don't know if you've seen the empathy quotes that Charlie Kirk had.
Oh, the one where he says he believes empathy is created.
And that's where it was ended.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, because there's more to the quote.
Well, 100%, because you have to go and understand the context of what he actually meant and how he said it and who he said it to and where it was said.
But it's easier to divide, because that piece, if I'm sitting here going, empathy is made up, and that's the piece that gets put out, it's an easier way for people to divide people.
Yeah, because now you can say, well, he didn't know what he was talking about, because of course there's empathy. And then you get the other side is, I don't know, I'm a psychologist and I studied it and he didn't, he's not even educated.
Yeah.
And so he knows nothing. See, he's ignorant, without actually understanding the context, or without actually sitting down with him and saying, okay, explain to me, help me understand why you think that.
Yeah.
And that can go into all areas of our life.
I think it does though, right?
Because
we kind of sit in this position where we don't, I feel like, now I'm going to bring it back sort of to the South African context. I feel like here we don't want to stand on the edge. It's because, and it's oof.
Well, if you do stand on the edge, you might find some shit that you don't want to find, and you may have to confront yourself with some truths that you didn't want to see true.
Yeah.
And oh goodness me, that could be quite tough. And that's
changes the game.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, as we've built Uncovering Greatness, and as you've worked with me and with Cole, and all of us have changed a lot of our perspectives.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I used to, one of my key values used to be brutal honesty.
Mm-hmm.
And I had my context around it until you and Nicole actually sat me down and said, we need to ask you the question is, do you really believe in brutal honesty? And I said, yeah. And you said, what does it mean to you? And I told you, and then you guys said, well, we've looked up brutal in the dictionary, and this is what brutal means. And I went, no, that's not who I am. So in that moment, we all went to the edge of the coin, and it seems very simple, very I mean, arbitrary, but reality is that's a value in our business.
Yeah.
And I was able to go, geez, you guys make sense. No, that's not who I want to be. And what we did is we changed the word brutal to total.
Yes.
I could have said, stuff you guys, it's my business, I want the word, and that's what I want, and that would have been divisive.
Oh yeah.
Now, I didn't change just because.
No,
I
you
changed
thought about
because I went,
You thought about
I
it.
thought about it,
Yes.
and I went, that actually makes sense. No, that's not who I am. You know, whereas immediately I think many people will just go, no, but that's it, that's me, and I know, and this idea of I know becomes very divisive.
Do you think that, I mean, because we said that word, that phrase, I guess, I know, has caused people to basically now not think even more because I know, I know.
Well, you know, there's a wonderful saying I love is you know what you know, and what you know has got you to where you are. And if you stay stuck on what you know and keep defending what you know, it's highly likely you'll stay stuck where you are.
Yeah.
It's what you don't know that will take you to where you need to go. So at some stage, you have to be able to let go of what you know to open up for what you don't know. So that for me is the beauty of learning in life is what I know what I know about business. I know what I know about sales. And it comes from a certain perspective based on my 32 years of experience. The question is what don't I know? And what don't I know about what I think I know? And that's the constant ability to ask questions and I think, you know, if you go back to Charlie Kirk and you go back to any of the great, I mean, I think Joe Rogan does it very well as well.
Yes.
You go back to, you know, I think Theo Von does it very well. You go back to any of the people that create, you know, Patrick Bet-David, he does it very well. The ability to ask questions, to hold a position and say, this is how I think, this is what I think, but let's ask a whole lot of questions. And the ability to ask questions of yourself and say, oh shit, so I think like this because of this, but I never saw that perspective. So how does that change how I think?
Yeah.
How does that change my journey? Oh wow, that adds, it shifts it, it changes, it totally turns it on its head. Oh, okay, great. And you have the ability to create a new thought pattern, to create some new thinking. Otherwise, you're going to stay stuck. That fixed mindset versus a growth mindset versus the ability to actually unpack that I know what I know, and what I know has got me to where we are, but it may not get me to where I'm going. So what is it that I don't know? Or what is it that I don't know about what I know that will, and when you having dialogue with other people, what is it that you don't know about them? What is it you don't know about the journey they've walked? What is it you don't know about their experience? What is it that you don't know or that you've never thought of that makes people think the way they think that's different to you? And I just, and I'll say it, I think like school creates school becomes very divisive because school is all about right and wrong.
Yeah.
And right and wrong, you know, 1 + 1 = 2, and that's the way it is. And if somebody else has a different thought about it, we immediately told, listen to me, I know, now that's wrong, and you get naught for it.
Yeah.
Instead of, okay, yes, in the context of the world, 1 + 1 = 2,
Yes.
you are right. But how do you get someone else to think and say, okay, so how would that apply? Where would that apply? And get them to change their mind to go, oh, okay, now I understand why 1 + 1 = 2. Obviously, it's a very simple example, but that's life.
Yeah. I think it's easier to work with simple examples than it is to try and be highfalutin and trying to get overly smart.
Yeah. And therein lies the problem as well. Is I think in the world today, everyone is wanting to be so smart.
I mean, you're just seeing it now with the conspiracy theories. You just
but it's amazing how those things come out, and they're theories.
Yeah,
they're theories. And if you go and argue against someone like that, well, I don't know, maybe they won't change their perspective.
So I actually even saw this post which made me think a little bit differently, where they said everybody's assuming that it happened because of his views. What if it was something else?
It could have been.
There's actually no proof, or evidence that says it was yet.
Yes, there's no facts.
Zero facts. But the assumption is, it was because of his views.
Yeah, it was because of his views, or because of who he was, or because
of the things he did.
And that's the reality. Now, so the question is you can have your opinion.
Fair.
The question is can you can you deal on the facts when the facts come?
Yeah.
Or when the facts come, are you going to? And it's not just about just accepting that that's a fact or that person said it, because that's the beauty of who we are. That's the beauty of being a human being, man. God gave us such an amazing tool in our brain to be able to reason and think and weigh things up and be able to shift our opinions and shift what we understand to become bigger and better and grow. And yeah, I just think in the world today we're getting less and less. Technology is dumbing us down.
Yeah.
Technology is dumbing us down because people will go and look at, before they think, a lot of times they'll just go and Google something to support their opinion.
No, 100%. 100%.
So, and then, rather than actually saying, this is my opinion, this is how I think, and this is why I think, I'm open to shifting it if I see a different school of thought. Now, can you be open? Can you both go onto the edge of the coin, have a discussion? That discussion is through asking questions without fighting, without anything, having a discussion to go, okay, well, we both have opposing viewpoints. However, if we're going to move forward in the world, how do we find some form of unity so that everyone can coexist in a much better place? I'll go back to that whole thing of you can have an opinion, I can have an opinion, but I think the whole world is, everyone's allowed a free opinion, but stuff you if your opinion is different to mine.
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah,
and I mean, I think that's for me, that is, and I wanted to ask you this on the episode, because I think for me, that's probably the biggest issue that I have with this whole situation, where I'm like, I think that obviously, yes, especially in America, people should now be very concerned about free speech and their opinions.
Yeah.
Because this is what, in my viewpoint, it's my opinion, this is what could happen to you if you have an opinion that goes against the grain.
So free speech is really interesting.
Very interesting.
I think free speech is important, but I think with free speech comes a responsibility.
Definitely.
Just because I feel something doesn't mean I should say it. Just because I feel that you're an asshole doesn't mean I should just say you're an asshole because I'm allowed free speech. Because my responsibility is how do I communicate in a way that if I think you're being an asshole and I genuinely want you to shift to be a better person, well, if I just say what I feel, it's likelihood that you're gonna come back with the same type of force.
Yeah.
Whereas if I can have open dialogue with you and sit and say, you know what, Sully, I need to, as is something with you, for example, I need to put something on the table. I need to put something on the table to you, chat, open something up. This is how I feel. I feel that, some of your actions have done this, this, and this.
Yeah.
And